What I'm wondering is how you made it clear to Esther that she was not batshit crazy when you started talking to her?
Well, she didn't want to be batshit crazy, but was worried that she might be.
I'm worried that I might be.
Well, you are.
Yeah.
Esther had the advantage of someone with her who she trusted. Jerry was excited. Jerry could feel the clarity of it. And so he was the encouraging force. He was also the asker. He was the step one that kept calling us forward. And Esther was already in a mindset of being pretty easygoing about things. So it was an easy connection for her. But pretty early on in her experience, she asked us, should I tell my parents about this? And we said, you mean in this lifetime? We said, they're pretty set in their religious ways, and there's a high probability that you'll upset them more than soothe them. And it isn't important that you explain to anybody what you're doing unless you think it is of advantage to them, unless you think it will uplift them in some way. So we weren't using the term path of least resistance in those days like we are now, but we said to Esther, if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would just let them live their happy life and you live your happy life, and just rendezvous with them on things that are easy for you to rendezvous on, because there's nothing serious going on here, over there or over there or over there. In other words, you're all here for the same reason, to enjoy the splendor of this evolution of that which is you. And everybody's going about it in their unique ways. And you're not here to change what anybody else is doing. You didn't come to fix stuff. And so they were visiting, and Esther was at her mother's electric typewriter receiving some book material early one morning. And Esther types, last time she checked, about 120 words a minute. She really rocks and rolls on those machines. And that one made a lot of noise. It's not like a computer that's more silent. And her father heard it making sounds he'd never heard it make before. So he came downstairs and stood behind her and wanted to know what she was doing. And she thought, well, when somebody asks, surely I should give them the answer. And so she told her dad, and he said, just don't go off the deep end. And Esther thought, okay, I won't. And then she thought, okay, Dad knows, now I should tell Mom. Well, it really freaked her mother out, because her mother had practiced thinking thoughts like, nobody really gets to do that. And if they think they are doing it, that they are either delusional or evil. And so her mother, who had long practiced a sort of spell that would exercise evil, launched into her, I command you. And so we said to her, well, we're going to go now. Not because you told us to go, but because we're upsetting you. And so everyone is not looking for this obvious connection, even though everyone wants it. So you want to be sensitive to where others are to a degree, but not so sensitive that you don't follow your own impulses. And when you are in alignment, as you so often are, you get impulses about what to say and when to say it. In other words, there are a lot of people that want to do what Esther's doing. And that's wonderful. And everyone can. If your intention is to connect so that you can feel the wholeness of who you are and have awareness in every moment of what the path of least resistance or the path of most allowance is, then the law of attraction will gather up for you those who are ready. Here they are. You don't want to round them up. You just want to say, I'm going over there, and if you want to come, come on. And then let the law of attraction take care of everything else. And you have one thing to take care of, your connection with your source. Yeah, good.
How did Esther know that it wasn't her voice?
Well, because she's not that smart. She found herself knowing things that she doesn't know. And Jerry pointed that out to her on a pretty regular basis too. You know, he used to tease because sometimes in the early days especially, it was just Jerry and Esther, and they'd show up and they'd say hey to you. Esther hasn't walked into the audience since, it's been probably 2 decades until today. Until today. Probably be another 2 decades before she does it again. Yeah. And sometimes on a segment of refreshment, people would come to Esther. Several of you sat here and called us Esther. And that's when we play with you and say we do look a lot alike. But this is more than the perspective of Esther. This is her connection with her broader perspective, and it's hard to describe it. You can't see it, hear it, and smell it, and taste it, and touch it, but you can have an awareness of it, you see. And so people would come to Esther during a segment of refreshment and ask her Abraham kinds of questions, and Jerry would stand back and he'd go, because he knew Esther was well-meaning, and he knew that she did know lots of answers, but he knew that she didn't want to get in the middle of that. And then he would say to Esther, we'll make a sign and it'll say Esther, Abraham. And then he said, we don't really need a sign. Do some of you know Esther? You know Esther, you know Esther, you know Esther, you know Esther.
We saw her.
You know Esther, you know Esther, you know Esther.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they know her. They have no confusion. They go to dinner with her. They play with her. They know the difference between her complete alignment with her inner being and all of us who hang around there, and Esther, who's often observing and living. In other words, Esther used to say to Jerry, I think I should just go get Abraham, and you and Abraham should just live together. And Jerry would say, that wouldn't be any fun. And Esther said, oh good, I'm glad that you feel that way. But it would be different. It would be different, you see. So if you wanted to be only that, you wouldn't have come. When you croak, we try to be disrespectful of death since there isn't any. You'll be that. You'll be that pure positive energy, non-resistant being that you are. But while you're here, contrast will call you to some resistance which will inspire new desire, which is what puts the eternalness in eternity. It's the plan. It's your plan. It's what you wanted, you see. So you want to make peace with who you are. People write 2 kinds of letters to Esther. They're about the same thing, but they're 2 very different letters. One is, we like how often you screw up because it makes us know that we can do it. And the other one is, we're bothered that you screw up because if you can't figure this out, what chance do we have? And the thing that was the hardest for Esther to get over was that. Thinking that she needed to always be in alignment for you. And now she has decided that's your problem. Yeah. So, good?
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.